Here's a timely question. What can you tell me about energy drinks? Are they harmful or helpful? Energy drinks have been around since the 1990s and have evolved into a multi-billion-dollar business. They line the coolers in the checkout stands of supermarkets and convenience stores. With promises of enhanced performance and mental sharpness, they're attractive to younger consumers looking to push the limits. So what are the magic ingredients that go into these drinks that give you wings, as they claim? It turns out the major ingredient is a stimulant that's been around since the 9th century, and maybe as far back as 3000 BCE. You know, there's mention of the effects of caffeine in a Chinese legend where an emperor named Shennong found that when certain leaves fell into boiling water, the result was a fragrant drink that had restorative powers. Those magical leaves turned out to be tea leaves. Tea and coffee are the most common sources of caffeine, but it's also found in other plants, such as the guarana berry, another common ingredient found in energy drinks. Caffeine is the most commonly used psychoactive drug in the world. In the US alone, 90% of the adult population consumes caffeine daily. Now, it's not regulated by the FDA like other psychoactive drugs because it doesn't become fatally toxic until it reaches doses of 10 grams in otherwise healthy individuals. Now, most cups of coffee have around 100 milligrams, so that would be the equivalent of 100 cups of coffee. On the other hand, non-fatal toxicity can occur in doses between 500 to 600 milligrams, including nervousness, restlessness, and anxiety. In children, this occurs with much smaller doses, which is why the daily limit of caffeine is 100 milligrams for a 12-year-old child compared to 400 milligrams for an adult. Remember, these are guidelines that are created for normal, healthy individuals. But what about people, especially young people, with cardiac problems, diabetes, seizures, psychiatric illness, or even subclinical mood or behavioral disorders? For these people, the risks are much greater and less predictable. Until recently, it's been difficult to determine the amount of caffeine in some of these energy drinks because of a loophole in the system. As it turns out, some of these drinks are listed by the manufacturer as beverages, while others are listed as dietary supplements. It's up to the discretion of each company to decide if they will call their drink a beverage or a dietary supplement. Now, there are important differences between these two categories. For instance, companies have much more leeway in what ingredients they put into a dietary supplement, and they're responsible for their own research on the safety of these ingredients. On the other hand, dietary supplements are required to report incidences of adverse effects to the FDA, while beverages are not. So, for instance, Monster Energy, one of the most popular energy drinks, has decided after 10 years to become a beverage rather than a dietary supplement. This means they will now list the caffeine amount, which runs between 140 milligrams and 160 milligrams in a 16-ounce can. Now, that's about 1.5 times the daily limit for a child. On the other hand, they will no longer have to report adverse events to the FDA, even those that are fatal. An interesting sidelight is that consumers can use government-subsidized food stamps to purchase energy drinks when they're listed as a beverage. One of the more popular uses for energy drinks is to add it to an alcoholic beverage. This common practice is most often found in college-age drinkers. The caffeine reverses or counteracts the drowsiness effect of the alcohol, which in turn leads to several well-documented but dangerous situations. The result of adding the caffeine to the alcohol is that people tend to drink more without feeling the drowsiness or the drunkenness. They're also 4 times more likely to drive with a higher level of intoxication. That puts both the driver and the passenger at risk for a potentially fatal accident. In summary, the dangers associated with energy drinks aren't so much in its use, but rather in its misuse. Try to remember the 100-400 rule as the limits of caffeine used in milligrams for children and adults. Make sure you read the label to see how much caffeine you're consuming. Pay particular attention to medical conditions, especially in young people with cardiac problems, diabetes, seizures, psychiatric illness, or subclinical mood or behavioral disorders, and avoid energy drinks with any of these conditions. If you are mixing energy drinks with alcohol, understand that you're probably more drunk than you think. Whether or not you feel intoxicated, let a designated driver take you home. And remember, if you have questions concerning exercise, health, or life in general, the doctor is in. Just email me at housecalls@thedoctorsworkout.com and I'll try to add them to house calls. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay fit.